Right now, I'm all in on the Baltimore Ravens. I'm betting on Lamar Jackson to make it happen. As a Colts fan, I know my team isn't going to the playoffs, so I'm choosing someone else to root for, and it's the Ravens. Baltimore fans are amazing, and I love the Orioles too. But with the Ravens, it's time for them to step up and win. They'll be facing the Bills in Orchard Park, but remember, they already beat them this year, and it wasn't even close. Plus, the Ravens' defense is playing even better now. Kyle Hamilton is a beast. He can do it all, play in the box, deep as a safety, and even rush the quarterback. He's got the size, speed, and skills to change the game. Just look at his interception against C.J. Stroud in the Texans' win. That's just one example of what he can do. But it really comes down to Lamar Jackson. No matter what anyone says, Lamar has to play his best in the playoffs. We've seen him do amazing things, and we've seen some off days too, but this year, he has a huge chance to shine. With players like Derrick Henry, Zay Flowers, Isaiah Likely, and Mark Andrews, plus the way Todd Monken has been calling plays, this team is dangerous. Now Greg Roman is coaching the Chargers, and I do cover the Chargers, but I've always thought Greg Roman didn't let Lamar reach his full potential. You guys made a great point in my last video when we looked at the film. But now, Lamar is playing at an all-time high, and Derrick Henry is having one of his easiest seasons thanks to Lamar's ability to run the ball. Just look at Lamar's speed. If defenses focus too much on Henry, Lamar can keep the ball and run for huge gains. He hit 21 mph on a run, and no other quarterback is doing that. Lamar didn't even seem like he was trying, and I honestly think he could hit 22 or 23 mph. Is that even possible? It sounds crazy, but with the way Lamar worked on his speed this offseason, it's amazing. And the best part? He's also one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the league, fitting passes into tight spots with perfect touch. Lamar isn't just one of the most athletic quarterbacks. He might just be the best rushing quarterback in NFL history. Right now, we have a player who's putting up some incredible numbers. Think Aaron Rodgers in his prime. Lamar Jackson is not just avoiding turnovers. He's been fantastic at not throwing interceptions. Honestly, I don't think he's thrown one this entire season that was his fault. Most of the time, it's just a pass that slips through a receiver's hands and gets picked off by a defender. Lamar is having one of the best seasons we've seen in a long time. I know I might sound like I'm gushing over him, but this is exactly why I love football. These athletes are doing things that most of us can't even imagine, playing at such a high level year after year. Lamar is on track to win his third MVP award, and what I admire most about him is that while he definitely wants that MVP, his biggest goal is to win a Super Bowl. It won't be easy, though. If the playoffs started today, the Ravens would be the third seed, hosting a game against the Los Angeles Chargers. To be honest, the Chargers' offense just isn't that strong. Sure, they have J.K. Dobbins, a former Raven who deserves a shout-out for his comeback this year, but they simply don't have the firepower to keep up with the Ravens. These two teams faced off earlier in the season at SoFi Stadium, and the Ravens came out on top. I believe they're even better now, so I expect them to win that game comfortably. The Chargers do have a solid defense, but they would need to hold the Ravens to under 20 points to have a chance at winning. That means the Chargers would have to score at least 23 points, which is a tall order. Looking ahead, if the Bills take care of business against the Broncos, the Ravens would then have to travel to Orchard Park to face the Bills. So they'd start with the Chargers, then potentially face the Bills, and if the Chiefs win their game, the Ravens would have to go to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. That matchup could be one of the greatest games in football history. Just imagine what it would mean for Lamar's legacy if he could go to Arrowhead Stadium, stop the Chiefs from winning 3 Super Bowls in a row, and then make it to the Super Bowl himself. Picture a Ravens versus Lions Super Bowl. It would be absolutely amazing. The Ravens have a strong history. They've won Super Bowls and consistently perform well each year. But for John Harbaugh, there's a lot on the line this season. He needs to deliver results. On the other hand, the Lions have never won a Super Bowl, which would make it quite a story if they made it this year. Lamar has a tough road ahead if he wants to achieve that goal. First, he needs to have a fantastic regular season, which he's already done. Next, he has to shine in the postseason when it really counts. With the NFL now having 17 games instead of 16, every game matters even more. I can hardly contain my excitement thinking about the Ravens competing in the playoffs. There's been this narrative that Lamar doesn't perform well in the playoffs, and there's some truth to it. He's had moments like throwing into triple coverage against the Chiefs, and we all remember Zay Flowers' fumble. He needs to improve in those high-pressure situations. But right now, this Ravens team is hungry and playing at an incredible level, and I'm all for it. Let's not forget about the defense, which deserves a lot more credit. I haven't talked much about them yet, but Kyle Hamilton has been a game changer. His performance has really turned things around for the defense. Earlier in the season, the Ravens struggled against the pass, and opposing quarterbacks were having a field day. Remember that game against the Raiders? It feels like ages ago, but they were getting burned through the air. I'm currently watching the Chargers play against the Patriots, and it's exciting to think about the Harbaugh brothers facing off in the playoffs. That's going to be a fun matchup. We also need to give credit to the Ravens' defensive coordinator, who has done a great job despite all the new pieces and losing key players. Look at the impact of players like Kenoy, who was picked up after being released by his previous team. He's had a double-digit sack season and has been all over the field, especially in the game against the Texans. As I watch the film, I'm impressed by the creative formations the Ravens are using. They're putting Lamar in positions to succeed. For example, I see him in a pistol formation, faking a handoff, rolling out, and then picking up some yards with his legs. And when they get into the red zone, it's going to be exciting to see what they do next. When you think about the challenge of facing both Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson, it's hard to imagine how any defense could stop that duo. If the Ravens can protect the football and avoid turnovers while keeping their defense focused, there's no doubt in my mind they could win the Super Bowl. However, they do have a tough road ahead, needing to go through Buffalo and Kansas City before potentially reaching New Orleans for the Super Bowl. I'll be cheering for the Ravens and Lamar Jackson all the way. Baltimore has some of the best fans out there. I made a few mistakes in my last video about the Ravens, and instead of getting upset like some fan bases might, their fans kindly pointed out my errors. I cover all 32 teams, so I'm not perfect, and I really appreciate the understanding. Honestly, I'm all in for the Ravens. I can't stand the Steelers, to be completely honest. While I don't think Mike Tomlin is overrated, I'm just thrilled that the Ravens managed to beat them. I'm so tired of hearing their fans talk.